Hey there, Seb here to give you an impression of Turkish developer Phew Phew Games' first project, Anomaly Agent. A Steam key was provided for review and boy am I happy for that, as I hadn't heard of the game before and I've had an absolute blast with it. At the end it did leave me a little bit disappointed, but let's find out why as I tell you about this high octane and zany adventure. And oh boy is it zany! You'll be playing this adventure as Agent 70, who's working for an organization called T-Day in this cyberpunk world. It's their task to protect the world against different kinds of anomalies that pop up. Our boy here is only 2 hours away from promotion, so you know what that means. All hell's about to break loose. The story is told through interactions with some charming characters and takes a rather comedic approach. Honestly, it has this Saturday morning cartoon vibe, high action, wacky characters and some ridiculous situations you'll find yourself in. And this final day in the field turns out to be quite a long one, seeing how we got ourselves stuck in a time loop and we'll need to find a way to break out. Now I personally love time loop stories. You know, stuff like Groundhog Day, Edge of Tomorrow or that cause and effect episode of The Next Generation. Anyone remember that one? Now in video games something like this is hard to pull off, as doing these same events over and over again can get annoying fast, and yes, this is what ruined Majora's Mask for me. This game avoids that by offering a completely linear story. This does however really undersell the whole time loop idea. We're told we're in one, but it rarely actually feels like it. Where this title really shines is in its game feel. The combat feels a bit stiffer than you might expect on first sight, but it's weighty and very impactful. All actions are more deliberate than in, say, a typical beat 'em up, and it should not be seen as such. Button mashing will get you iced pretty fast. I should know, as I'm pretty prone to button mashing myself. And not even on purpose. Oftentimes it's just pure panic. You get a nice variety of moves at a steady pace throughout the game. You start out with a basic melee combo, but soon this will expand with dodges, parries, special items and some anomaly powers of your own. You may also borrow enemy guns to spread some lead. It's a lot to keep in mind and eventually my brain just loses track of what button does what, even on a controller. Luckily key bindings are fully customizable here. There's also a nice variety in challenges, both from combat as well as platforming, with some fun set pieces and engaging boss fights. Now you will encounter some recycled environments throughout your journey. Who would have guessed in a time loop, right? But most sections will offer a new type of challenge or fun gimmick to engage with. One moment you're kicking along a farting enemy hostage and the next you'll be mingling with an army of clones in your disguise to infiltrate their prison. Something else that helps you keep engaged is the great presentation. The game has a nice pixel art aesthetic, nothing you haven't seen before but very well executed here, with fitting expressive animations, especially when stuff is moving in the fore and backgrounds, and with some environmental lighting effects, it looks really nice. And then there is the music side of the presentation, which wow, I can only give the eyes of praise. It's a synthwave soundtrack that both helps to pump you up for action and kicking some ass, as well as fitting really well with the retro style as a whole. Suffice it to say, it really helps you attain that illustrious flow state, and once you hit that, the game feels amazing. Again, it's that game feel that's just so good. With small touches like small delays on hits and the right sound effects resulting in a smooth flow as things just chain into a lovely show of murder. And if you break that focus, well, you'd be dead really fast. Luckily, penalty upon death is minimal, with just a small deduction of your money and getting sent back to the last checkpoint. These are plentiful throughout and the game is even lenient in refilling your life on each screen transition. So it never becomes frustrating and it's always inviting to just have fun and experiment with new techniques and strategies. Now that doesn't mean that it'll be a total cakewalk. You'll find many of the same mooks along the way, it is a clone army after all. But they do come in different varieties and most of these, as well as other characters, are introduced via stylish character graphics. They also have the ability to merge into better versions of themselves, so you want to dispatch them as fast as possible. It's when the game mixes up different clones and throws a lot of them at you at once that things get real dicey fast. Luckily you can even the odds a little by investing the loose change they leave into some upgrades for your skills. A secondary currency in the form of emotions are obtained through conversations. You get good emotions for being nice and these buy extra health upgrades. And you can be a total jerk and get some extra coins by trading in those tiers. So far this all sounds awesome, so what can I possibly be disappointed by? Well, it comes down to replay value. The Steam page claims that you can shape the story, and the way the game sets itself up, it feels like that is the case. Well, this is why I prefer to first complete a game before giving you my impressions, as this unfortunately is not really the case. There are 2 endings and you can pick one right at the end. Apart from small immediate dialogue changes, whatever you choose earlier in the game changes absolutely nothing. Being good or bad has no consequences other than the upgrades you get, and both of these can be obtained from chests in levels as well, so you will never be starving for either health or money completely. If you want to see that other ending, you will need to play through the entire game again, and you can do this with the New Game Plus mode, retaining all abilities. I was hoping for some diversions in the story, but it's exactly the same. Seeing how the time loop is the main theme of the game, I was very disappointed to see that this was not woven into it at all. For an example of a game that does this really well, I'd like to point you to Oxenfree. Another minor thing is that I felt some environmental hazards could do with clearer clues. Especially the crushing ceilings I found a bit tricky to keep track of in combination with the dudes that were trying to whack me. The enemy attacks themselves have very clear indicators, by the way. These can be turned off in the options for an extra challenge, and the game has separately 3 difficulty modes to select in total. For a tenner, the game offers a really cool experience for about 3 to 4 hours on the first playthrough. The fact I even went for the New Game Plus mode just goes to show how much I wanted more of it. There is a Rogue Agent option listed as coming soon in the main menu. Not sure what that will entail or if it's DLC, but if it brings more of this action, I'm all for it. In conclusion, I would recommend giving the game a go if you like a good feeling action platformer. If you're used to the genre, perhaps start the game on hard, seeing how many checkpoints there are. I wish the story was a bit meatier and that the time loop theme was explored in a more meaningful way, but I absolutely love the style and gameplay, and I'd say those are way more important, and that Phew Phew Games has made a great first impression. Well, that's all from me. I hope you've enjoyed this video and I thank you very much for watching. Maybe we'll meet again in another video soon. Until then, take care and a muzzle! Hey there, Seb here to give you an impression of Turkish developer Phew Phew Games' first project, Anomaly Agent. We got ourselves stuck in a time loop.